screen picking about it. Hello everyone. Hello everyone. Am I audible to you all? If anyone have a problem with my audio, please, text me. We are going to start our webinar. I really appreciate if someone could message me on chat that am I audible to you or not. Ria Rajput, Suyas Sukla, Diksha Sorna. Good afternoon, Phukan sir. Phukan sir, if you allow, then we could start, our webinar today. Phukan sir.
Start. We can start. ওকে ডাউন একটু অন করে দিবা।
Your voice is not audible, sir.
1 minute. Is it audible now? Actually, not audible. It's not audible now. Is it audible?
It is audible, sir. Please go ahead.
Okay. Kunal, we can go ahead.
Phukan sir.
We can go ahead.
Okay. So, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kunal, and we are going to discuss and conduct a live webinar session on managing conflicting goals.
Kunal, can I disturb you?
Welcome, everyone, to today's webinar from webinarstores.net. My name is Kunal, and I will be your conference moderator for today's webinar titled Managing Conflicting Goals. At this time, all participants are on listen mode on. Later, we will conduct a question and answer session, and instruction on how to participate will follow that time. As a reminder, this webinar is being recorded and will be made available for future download. I would like to now introduce your speaker for today, Dr. Pranjal Kumar Phukan. He is a national and globally recognized industry professional with over 25 years of experience with India's largest MNC in automotive, telecommunication, and many more industries. He was a co-chair of the ICC MSME subcommittee. He has also serve on the Confederation of Indian Industry Eastern Region Committee, that is CII. Limits to Infinite, a philosophy and science book written by him. He is a climate change advocate, entrepreneur, and recipient of multinational international awards. He has linked to universities and other higher education institutes. To date, he has delivered over 250 lectures on AI design thinking and financial modeling, mathematical modeling, cyber security, and many more. Dr. Pranjal has published over 50 case studies in reputable magazines on advanced technology, strategy management, sustainability, social technology, and other topics, including chemicals today and hydrocarbon processing. Dr. Pranjal has made major contribution to the field of education, including journal papers on Make in India, essential of educational institutes, prospect of blockchain technology in education, and role of education in combating climate change. Dr. Pranjal has contributed to the creation of curation of higher education institutes, corporates, and incubation centers, among others, in the area of project management, operation management, entrepreneurship, design process, and product development. Phukan sir, welcome to the webinar. We are now ready to begin.
Yeah. Thank you, Kunal. First of all, thank you, Kunal, and thank you, Webinar Store. Thank you all participants, audience who have taken the time to join this session. This is obviously the free session, but we will discuss a few things here which will be helpful for you to understand. And we will having an elaborate and a details webinar later on, which will be declared by Webinar Store. So before starting this session, we have to first understand that what does we mean by conflict? Because conflict is not the term which we use in industries, but also it is a term we are using in our day-to-day life. Because you know that conflict always comes when we are actually pursuing some goal. It may be the individual goals, or may it be the corporate goal, or may it be the professional goal. Because conflict will be there as we are pursuing some goals. Obviously, we are into interactions, or you can say we are basically interacting, which leads to contradictions, and these contradictions later on goes into conflicts. But don't we need not to worry about that, because every conflicts has a remedy. But there are some scientific tools also there, which will be discussing today in short. Which if you are really interested, then obviously you can be in touch with Webinar Store for detailing on the subject, because managing conflicting goal is also part of a science in management. So starting with the slide, this is the first slide where we are shown that how to manage the conflicting goals. And this very famous quote from Dorothy Thomas, that peace is not the absence of conflict. Peace means is the ability to cope with it. So we need to cope the conflicting goals with peace, with brotherhoodness, and also with not to get into another type of conflicts and leading to damage in relationship and all. So now the coming to the second slide. If you see the second slide, Kunal, should I scroll the slides, or you are scrolling the slides?
I'm scrolling through.
Okay, now coming to the second slide. In the second slide, basically, when we see the slide is not scrolling, Kunal. Please make it in the full view. Full view. First, make it in the full view.
Now, okay, sir.
Now it's not, you make it in full view and then scroll.
Now, okay, sir.
No, it's not scrolling. So
Okay.
if I have the sharing rights, then I can share it from
You
my end
have.
also. Okay, so let me try it once. Okay, no, 1 minute. So this is the slide which I'm saying. Okay,
Yes.
now we are discussing this slide about it. So when we go the second slide, what I'm saying and discussing is that the conflict is obviously is always a dynamic process, because in any organization a modest amount of conflict is always be there, and it is also always useful, because as we know that the disruptions are always useful, because in the present pandemic situation you have seen that due to the disruptions it is useful, because now we know the benefits of using the digital enabled tools or technologies, and how we are closer to each other, and how our business processes are going on smoothly using these AI or machine learning tools. So in this case, basically, if I say that Tosi, Rizzo, and Carol, these three are basically the researchers, they are the management gurus. In one way, you can say, in 1986, they have considered the following stages which are involved in the conflict processes, which is happening in any industries from inception to end, and is always in a sequential in nature. Like it always starts with the conflicting situations, then sorry, then we go for the awareness of the situation, why the conflict has arisen. Then we need for a realization that okay, that there is a conflict. Then we go for the manifestation of the conflict, and then we go for the resolution or how to suppress the conflict. And then we can see there are some after effects of the conflicting situations after the resolution is being made. So these are some of the sequences or stages of conflicts which happens in any industries, in any places, in any means in how in your own individual life also. So this is very well sequence made by these three people, like Tosi, Rizzo, and Carol, 1986, and things are following like that only. But before understanding the conflict and why it happens and how to manage this, I insist that my audience understand the theory behind the issues. So here our issue is conflict. So obviously I need to discuss few points on these theories, because the definition of conflict is very clear to all, that it is a disagreement between individuals. So it can vary from mild disagreements to a win or loss, lose or emotion-packed confrontations, which is being very well defined by Kirchhoff and Adams in 1982. So that's the reason there are two theories of conflict management still prevails. First one is the traditional theory, which is based on the assumption that conflicts are bad and is caused by the troublemakers and should be subdued. This is a traditional theory, but contemporary theory says that you have to recognize that conflicts between human beings are unavoidable. It is a part of the nature, so they emerge as a result of change or can be beneficial to the organization if managed efficiently. So if the organizational management can manage this conflict efficiently, then this can result into some innovations, or it can result into some good results. So current theory, which is basically by Kirchhoff and Adams and 1982, they considers innovation as a mechanism for bringing together various ideas and viewpoints into a new and different fusions. And due to this, some conflicts may be happening, but we not need to worry about. So the atmosphere of tension, hence conflict, is essential in any organization who are committed for developing and working with the new ideas. So according to the psychologist Ardbell and Brett Hart, there are 8 common causes of conflict in any workplace across the globe. It is not specific to Indian context. It is actually open for any organization, any industries around the world. So 8 causes are basically conflicting resources, conflicting styles, conflicting perceptions, conflicting goals, conflicting pressures, conflicting roles, different personal values, and unpredictable policies. So these are the 8 common causes. So it is being found in every organizations, every household. So these are based on the psychologist Ardwell and Bret Hart. So similarly, if I summarize for the model of conflict management, because we have touched upon the theory of conflict management, we have touched upon the causes. Now, if we can summarize on models of conflict management, then you can see the source of conflict. In between, you can see the source of conflict, which directly goes to the strategy selection and then a dispute resolution. In between, you can see it is basically during selection process is affected by the personal preferences, context characteristics, and strategy solution to dispute resolution is affected by the problem solving processes. So there are many type of problem solving processes. Nowadays, mostly we use the business analytics, data analytics, business intelligence for the organization industries. So in that way, we have a lot of problem solving processes, which is happening in the HR and human resource domains in organizational behavior. So it depends on all. So you can see very clearly that source of conflict, strategy selection, and dispute resolution are the 3 steps. And these how these are being affected by by the factors. I'm not saying external, by the factors, the prominent factors like personal preferences, context characteristics, and problem solving processes. So sources of conflict, as we've seen, the sources of conflict can be the personal differences. It can be informational deficiencies, which happens due to lack of communications between the employees, between the management, between the people living in a society or families, and environmental stress, which is obviously being seen due to the climate changes and many other things. So what we need to focus on during the personal differences, the focus of conflict is basically the perceptions and expectations of the individuals. Informational deficiency, in that case, the focus of conflict is the misinformation and misinterpretation. Then focus of conflict on the role incompatibility are basically goals and responsibility if they are not assigned properly and if they are not assigned or directed or informed or learned to the employees correctly or properly. And environmental stress, the focus of conflict is because you know that resource scarcity and uncertainty is happening across the globe, and this leads to many issues of stress and fatigue, and you can say demotivation. So this source of conflict is taken from Peter Dominic and Michael R. Ryan. They have published this in 2007. The causes of conflict, as we discussed, are basically the style, how we are conflicting, the conflicting styles, and what is the goal of creating the conflict in the organization, conflicting goals. We need to understand the pressures which these conflicting activities or conflicting matters are putting on us. Conflicting roles. Suppose if you're basically doing the conflicting roles among the organizations, our organization structure hierarchy is not clear. Conflicting personal values, conflicting perceptions. It is a subjective matter, but still it leads to the refusal to acknowledge that another person's perception is valid. So there is basically non-conformity to other person's values. So types of team conflict can be happening. There are several well-researched types of conflicts that emerges at work. Being aware of the true roots and causes of conflict is always the first step to successfully manage and resolve it. So first one is the task conflict, which is basically the conflict which is around a particular task, which may be complicated or it is not clearly defined, job description is not defined. The content of the decision making is always happening in a team, and it leads to differing ideas and ways and views on how to approach and interpret a task. Second is basically happening is the relationship conflict. This is around the relationship with other team members involving different attitudes, their preferences, their personal styles, their destructive, often underpinning the task conflicts. Third one is the process conflict, which is basically around the delegation and logistics of tasks. which are accomplishment or as well as the responsibility and strategy. And these are basically linked to task, and these leads to the relationship conflicts. Then comes to the status conflict. These are embedded in an organization around who is trying to be on the top of the social hierarchy, which leads to power struggle over decision making and resources. And this type of conflicts also happens mostly in the organizations. And I'm saying organization, this may be small, micro, medium, large, anyone. Organizational conflict, this emerges from the organizational structure as a whole, often tied to lack of communication, absence of shared visions, and different values. So these things we will discuss in detail in the session, which will be a paid one, and which will give you here. I will give you some live and related case studies of the organizations related to the various sectors, domains, where you can understand what actually happened and how it got sorted out amicably in the organization without disturbing the framework of the organizations. So we need to understand also the focus in communications. So in communication style, there are actually I have showing two type of communication style. One is contentious, another is collaborative. So in contentious communication style, it is mostly people focused, and collaborative communication is basically issue focused. Now the question arises here in a short period we are discussing. So question arises in your mind that how do I manage the conflict, which is happening every day and out. So first of all, you need to manage the conflict through your negotiation. So you need to be very well versed with the negotiation process. So it is not an easy task. It needs to be trained. People need to be trained. They need to give some time to how to go for the negotiation for the win-win situations. So it basically is a method by which people settle differences. It is process by which compromise or agreement is reached while avoiding the arguments and disputes. Then we can go for the open communications. It occurs when all parties are able to express ideas to one another, such as conversation or debate we mostly see in the politics. Then learn about the personality types. We need to understand the personality types of the people with whom you have a conflict. So remember that everyone is same. What makes us is us basically. Then set non-conflicting goals. We need to encourage the team to work together so that we can set some non-conflicting goals and we can move further. We can actually improve upon, and we can gain the results faster. Then we need to also explain. We need to have a very clear explanation of goals. Like to remember to keep our teams informed of any changes. It is not only the responsibility of the management, but it's also responsibility of the team leaders also, and keep them in the loop. So, so these are the few conflicting resolution skills. Like we need to be assertive, we need to mediate, we need to have the empathy, which we also understand during design thinking skills. We need to understand the role of interviewing and listening, active listening. We should be accountable for our responsibilities. We need to create a problem-solving situations, problem-solving methods, and we need to facilitate so that we can talk more to understand each other. There are few styles which depends on the conflict. If you put the graph with x-axis on concern for relationship and y-axis on concern for goals, you can see that mostly we always put on the top, that is the long-term planning team efforts, where we are more concerned about the relationship and goals both. So that is the most preferable one. Otherwise, you can see the tortoise. It is basically, if you are not concerned about the relationship and goals, then we will basically acting, our team members will be acting like rarely, if ever. We can also lose the battle and win the war if you are more on relationship, not on goals. We can be also like unpopular if you are more on goals and not on relationship. And in between, if you are in between both, then we can have the low impact compromises. But we prefer mostly the long-term planning team efforts, where our team, our management should focus, organizations focus on most on the concern for relationship along with the concern for goals. So how to choose a conflict management strategy for yourself, for your organization, is that you should understand what are the salient situation factors, which is basically creating these conflicting situations. What do you think is the best conflict management strategy? And you have to give the above questions some thought before going into the next slide. And next slide is that we are going for the organization solutions to conflict. We need to have the informal idea, that is the dispute resolution team or dispute resolution section. So we need to have an informal idea where we need to have the open door policies, where open documents, you are free to talk with any level of management anytime. It mostly happens when I was in General Motors. We have the direct access to the managing director, irrespective of the hierarchy, irrespective of the roles. So that is that this global organization mostly have this informal idea in the place to resolve the conflicts. Second, the human resource department should take note of the complaints and they need to work to resolve them amicably. And complaints of harassments which are based on race, religion, sex, national origin, age, disability cannot be kept confidential. So it has to be made open to the team members and the organizations. So during this session, small sessions today with you, I'm also very happy to discuss till now. And now the key takeaways. You should understand that team conflict is complex. Obviously, it's a complex because it involves human beings, and there is no one-size-fits-all formula that solves conflict. Though we have discussed the theories, the causes, and how to do it, but there are many things which cannot be like one-fit-size solutions for all. We need to discuss. You need to actually ponder upon. You need to learn. You need to practice. Different sources of conflicts always include task, relationship, processes, status, and organizational conflict. Conflict resolution strategies so either focuses on solving the issue or it focuses on preventing it from happening again and again, means recurring type. Whether or not conflict can be successfully managed at all strongly depends on the team how they are going to work on it. And high performance, high cohesion teams organically turns to participatory and preemptive measures in most of the organizations. We have seen how they resolve their conflicts internally, amicably, and they are rising and growing. So we need to have a cohesive teams which are more likely to benefit from conflict and conflict management. So now, if you have any query, I am free to answer your questions.
If anyone have any problem, any query, then we could ask questions through chat.
Sir,
Yeah.
excuse me, sir. How would I react if my co-worker blamed me for something which was not my fault?
Yes, that we have discussed because see, it is happening because his or her personal values are not taken into account. Okay, so where to strike? They will strike the people who they think they are basically will be listening to them. So best way is to divert such employees or people to your higher ups, or you should talk to your supervisors and inform him so that he may be or she may be needing some guidance. Actually, it is not sometime you always should not think that if someone is complaining it is intended. It is not intended. It is just to support his or her views, but no one is listening, so obviously he or she is coming to you to make the point. But don't take it otherwise, don't take it on self. Just inform your supervisors so that an amicable solutions or amicable environment situations can be created where he or she can talk clearly and freely to you as he's talking freely to
Correct.
you. So they should also in a position to talk freely to the management. To the management, situation will be getting resolved. No issue. Don't take it otherwise. These things happens, and I also have felt during my tenure of 25 years. But it is not to take into very seriously, as it is not on your personal account. It is an account of the organization, and that way you can resolve it.
So Ria, are you able to understand your solution by Phukan sir?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
We have some questions through other social media also. And Phukan sir, if you allow us, then we are going
Yes.
to do all
Yes.
questions in front of you.
Yes. You can ask.
The first question we got from YouTube section. Actually, our webinar is also live on the YouTube, and one attendee has asked a question: how do you handle conflict? The simple question.
Simple question, simple answer. How to first of all, in order to handle the conflict, you need to understand the the background of the conflict. First of all, first thing is that why the conflict has come into picture or why it has reoccurred. Because I will say reoccurred because it is not the first time. It is happening again and again. Sometimes the conflicts will be in a bigger form, sometimes it will be in a smaller form. The first and foremost question you should ask yourself is that what is the background of the conflict? So if you understand the background of conflict, for this you need to understand the personality style of your team, the people under you or people above you. What are their personality styles? Why they want to create this conflict? Whether they want to showcase their achievements or they want to showcase their developments, or they want something which the management or the society at large is not accepting or not understanding. So if you have a very clear mind with you, and always I will say that always keep these mode of win-win situations with you. Always you should approach any problem holistically. Don't approach the problem in line with win-lose or lose-win. Because now every time I'm saying these present situations pre-post pandemic, we need to be very, very holistic. We need to be holistic in our approach. So that way, amicably, you have to solve it, and we as a human beings have this ability or capability. You can say, if you can ponder upon, we can always solve conflicts for the good. Because conflicts are not bad for the organization; these are good for the organization. As I said, if I'm optimistic, because this leads to development of the organization in policies matters also. A company might not be having good policies. So what due to conflict, the policies gets refined, isn't it? So disruptive minds, as I say, disruptive minds are an asset to the company. So conflicts are also an asset to the company. We need to take it very positively.
You know, that is a good reply Phukan sir on this, but मैं यहाँ पे ये कहना चाह रहा था कि एचएनडी ये भी समझना चाह रहा होगा कि कॉन्फ्लिक्ट पर्सनल लाइफ में अगर हो then how they are going to handle it.
ना चीजें वही है, मैं बताया ना कि को देखना है। जैसे वो एयरलाइन से बोला जाता है ना कि पहले अपना मास्क पहनो फिर दूसरों को पहनाओ ऑक्सीजन मास्क। तो वैसे पहले अपने को सुधारो, तब कॉन्फ्लिक्ट कहाँ से होगा? मैं बताइए, कभी नहीं होगा। गलती अपने में होती है, वो अपनी गलतियों को पहले सुधारने से दूसरों की गलती नहीं दिखेगी फिर।
And we have another question from the LinkedIn. I could say yes, this is from the LinkedIn, and he has asked, explain a situation when you had a conflict at work and how you handled it. Phukan sir, this is a question. Explain a situation when you had a conflict at work and how you handled it.
मैं क्या बोल रहा था कि सपोज इफ आई टेक एन एग्जांपल ऑफ एचआर।
आवाज नहीं आ रही है सर। Phukan sir, आवाज नहीं आ रही है आपकी। Phukan sir, आपकी आवाज नहीं आ रही है।
Am I audible, Kunal? Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, audible.
So what I'm saying, suppose I'm in a HR department, and one example of conflict may be that so because HR department is mostly concerned with the policy matters. Okay, so suppose some policy matters has been designed and it's put up the board, and suppose board also has given the nod to this policy but was not implemented because of many reasons I don't know. So reasons may be the one reasons may be the conflicting goals, because it happens sometimes like that when people say that, no, this is a good policy, why you have put up the board and get it approved. So then the conflict arises, and this leads to the delay in policy decision making or policy implementations. And this is happening mostly in the organization which are into small, medium or micro enterprises. It doesn't happen mostly in the large corporations because they don't bother. Once it is being approved, it gets implemented. But in small organization, what happens, there is not clear authority or clear hierarchy or clear responsibility roles. So basically, the small organizations are facing mostly the conflicting issues. So they need to very clear about that. How to manage the conflicting goals is that they should have very proper job responsibilities and proper hierarchy maintained in the organization, which is seen also in startups mostly. And most of the startups fails because of the conflicts happening among their team members, because of different personality styles, because of the different perception, different views, different goals. So these are not aligned to the organizational goals, organizational vision or mission. So this way we can understand if anything goes into the conflict, it means first because people are involved. Why they are involved? Because their goals, as per the Maslow hierarchy role, as you know, if they feel insecurity, if they feel that they are not being recognized, then conflict will happen. Conflicting situation will happen. So we need to understand the basics. Then only we can clear out those big conflicting issues. Otherwise, small conflicting issues can be clear very shortly. It won't arise anytime.
Correct, sir. The third question, and I could say this is the last question of this session. Maybe if anyone have a question related to today's title topic, please ask on LinkedIn, on YouTube, or on Zoom. The last question, Phukan sir, we got is that how do you handle disagreements?
Disagreements we can handle. First of all, we don't need to create any situation of disagreement first. It means when we are understanding the conflicts, then first of all, we should always take the views of all the members first. Before, in any government organization and big private organization, I have seen that while going for a major policy matters, they always take the opinions and views of all members from top to bottom. And then they devise a policy which can be broadly can be said that maximum participants have agreed to it. So if maximum participants agreed to it, then in such cases, there won't be any situation of disagreement unless and until you have skipped or you have not put it those views which has been taken at the time for policy decisions. So it happens disagreement mostly in the unions. Okay, it doesn't happen among the employees. Mostly you have seen in large organization it happens among the unions. So that way, what happens, what they do, basically, I have seen in the companies like Tata's and General Motors and all these companies, they actually make they break the unions in. And get the document signed. So that way, they resolve this type of disagreements among the unions, where they feel that any union which is not agreeing any time, or which we can say are basically creating obstacles, they create another union parallel to that union, so that they are doing good for the company, but these people are actually they always in the position to in a mood to disagree. So to counter that, they create another party who are agreeing to the management, and ultimately the management can proceed with the policies, because otherwise you cannot do any activity such way, because you cannot put any force, you cannot do any manner, isn't it? So that way is the best way, is to find the maximum participation is happening. If the maximum people are agreeing, then just go with it. And rest who are disagreeing, you can call them separately and talk to them, give them the full chance, full opportunity to speak out. And you can give them the suggestions, or give them the assurance that we will take care of your points in the present policy which you have drafted and approved. So that way also it is possible. It is happening, because you cannot manage 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 people, and you cannot get 100% agreement every time. So it depends how much is the highest percentage you are getting. If you're getting 60% also, out of 20,000, if I say 12,000 people agreeing, then rest 8,000 can be managed through to democratic way, by like having a free talk, having a diagonal meeting, directly connecting with the head of the organization, giving them assurance, okay, we will take care of it, and we do it in a holistic manner. So that way we can run the organizations in such complex situation, because as I said, conflict is a complex system.
फूकन सर, थैंक यू सो मच. लेकिन अगर हम बात करें सर फूकन सर की, सो व्हेन देयर इज conflicting goals in a personal and a professional life, then what a single dialogue, एक लाइन ऐसा आप बताइए जो हमें दोनों पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू में रखना चाहिए, जब प्रोफेशनली हम लोग अप्रोच करें और पर्सनली जब हम लोग अप्रोच करें, जब कोई कॉन्फ्लिक्ट हो पर्सनल लाइफ में या प्रोफेशनल लाइफ में, तो एक होता है कि भाई दिस सिंगल डायलॉग मस्ट बी अप्लाइड इन बोथ केसेस. सो एज एन एक्सपर्ट आप क्या सजेस्ट करेंगे, व्हाट सिंगल डायलॉग और द लाइन यू कुड पुट हियर फॉर अस?
मैं तो यही बोलूंगा कि एज ए प्रोफेशनल बोलूंगा, बिकॉज मैं तो मैंने घर के बात नहीं कर रहा, प्रोफेशनली यदि मैं इंडस्ट्री में हूँ और मैं कोई कंफ्लिक्ट को फेस करता हूँ, तो पहला चीज तो ये है कि मुझे देखना है कि उस कंफ्लिक्ट में मुझे घुसना क्यों है, पहला. ठीक है, यदि वो कंफ्लिक्ट में सही में मेरा कोई रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है एज ए प्रोफेशनल, तो माय फर्स्ट थिंग इज दैट इट शुड नॉट बी देयर, conflict should not be there. If conflict is happening, means system have some problem, the system में कुछ गड़बड़ है. तो this is a very, I will take as a positivity, as a good opportunity कि मुझे एक opportunity मिला, मुझे एक सुयोग मिला जहां पर I can actually create some good things in the system to make it proper, make it I cannot make it perfect, okay, but I can make it proper and working, ताकि इस तरीके का कॉन्फ्लिक्ट दोबारा रिकर ना हो. आई शुड नॉट टेक इट नेगेटिवली, मुझे पॉजिटिवली देखना है कि कॉन्फ्लिक्ट आया मतलब सिस्टम में गड़बड़ है, सिस्टम को सुधारो भाई, अपने आप ठीक हो जाए. लोगों को सुधारने की जरूरत है, सिस्टम सुधारो, लोग अपने आप सुधर जाएंगे सिस्टम में, है कि नहीं? तो सिस्टम को सुधारना है, कंपनी को लोगों को नहीं चलाने देना है, कंपनी को सिस्टम को चलाने देना है, सिस्टम लोगों को चलाए. अब वही हो ही रहा है अभी इंडस्ट्री 4.0 में क्या हो रहा है, जहाँ मशीन से आदमी तो गायब है ना. अभी इंडस्ट्री 5.0 भी आ रहा है, 5G आ रहा है, तो लोगों का तो अभी धीरे धीरे काम भी थोड़ा अजीब सा हो जाएगा, वो ज्यादा एक दूसरे से इन्वॉल्व नहीं रहेंगे, वो मशीन के साथ ज्यादा इन्वॉल्व रहेगा. मशीन के साथ फिर क्या कन्फ्लिक्ट करना है, मशीन तो भाई मशीन है, वो तो अपना प्रोग्राम रीड करता है, वो लोगों को रीड नहीं कर पाता है, और कर भी लिया तो वो प्रोग्राम के थ्रू ही करेगा, है कि नहीं? तो ये चीज थोड़ा ध्यान रखना हमको.
And the last question which we got from the Facebook, our Facebook page is also live somehow, and someone has asked a question that how to handle when you disagree with the rule or the policy.
Last question क्या होगा?
How to handle when you disagree with a role or policy.
Role of policy is a very big term. मैंने तो छेड़ तो दिया, बट पॉलिसी मैटर एक बहुत बड़ा टर्म होता है, और इसमें सब लोग डिसएग्री नहीं करते हैं. इसमें डिसएग्री करने वाले लोग एक्चुअली ऑन टॉप में रहते हैं. ठीक है, वो नीचे वालों को तो पॉलिसी को डिसएग्री करने का तो उनके पास यूनियन है, ठीक है, और यूनियन को कैसे संभालना है ऑर्गेनाइजेशन को मालूम, तो ऑर्गेनाइजेशन तो उनका इनपुट लेके ही पॉलिसी बनाता है. पर ज्यादातर पॉलिसी मैटर्स डिसएग्रीमेंट टॉप में होता है, क्योंकि वो उनको लगता है कि उनका हो सकता है कुछ पोजीशन नीचे हो रहा हो, या उनकी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी कम कर दी गई हो, या उनको कहीं पर दूसरे एक्टिविटी में डाला गया हो जो उनके प्रोफाइल के मैचिंग नहीं है. तो पॉलिसी मेटर्स में देखा गया है कि ज्यादातर ऊपर ही रहता है, नीचे कम रहता है। नीचे कम रहता है मैं इन द सेंस नहीं रहता है, नहीं के बराबर ही होता है, बिकॉज मोस्ट ऑफ द पॉलिसी आजकल पता ही है सब गवर्नमेंट भी वो गवर्नमेंट के कुछ स्टेट्यूटरी गाइडलाइंस को लेके ही बनाया जाता है, जैसे लेबर लॉज। सब मामले में नीचे लेवल्स में ज्यादा प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, जो प्रॉब्लम होती है ऊपर लेवल में होती है पॉलिसीज में, डिसएग्रीमेंट्स।
Okay, Phukan sir, now there is no any questions which we are getting from any social media or Zoom, and would like to return program back to you, and we need your final comment. We need your final comment on this webinar, Phukan sir.
या मैं तो ये बोलूंगा कि जो भी आज सेशन में हुआ वो तो बहुत ही कम और बहुत ही छोटा सा हुआ, पर इसका डिटेलिंग हम लोग केस स्टडी के साथ नहीं करेंगे तो लोगों को समझ में नहीं आएगा। तो मैं वही सबसे रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा कि जो लोग आज जुड़े हैं और जो जुड़ने वाले थे आज जुड़ेंगे, तो वो मैं चाहता हूँ सब जुड़े वो आपका क्या बोलते हैं उसको पेड सेशन में, क्योंकि विदाउट केस स्टडीज ये सब सब्जेक्ट जो है ना इतना आसानी से समझ में नहीं आएगा, क्योंकि हमको रिलेट करना पड़ता है, हमको दिखाना पड़ेगा कि ऐसा सिचुएशन था, ऐसा सोल्यूशन आया है, तो तब वो रिलेट कर पाते हैं अपना ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के साथ। तो थियोरेटिकली बोलेंगे
तो सारे डिटेल्स हम लोग भेजेंगे सारे अटेंडी लोगों को, and we will share all the details what we are going to discuss in second phase on managing conflicting goals. Whatever that we have attendees on all social media as well as on Zoom, we will share the details soon with whatever the case studies and all the content which we got. We will definitely share and request them for the second second slot of this webinar.
Yes. ठीक है.
So, Phukan sir, what is your final comment for the today's webinar? I could say we could wrap it up right now.
Yes, final comment is managing conflicting goal is not a new thing. It is a very old thing. But I know that everyone who are in professions, may it be businessmen, may it be business owners, may it be to this gamut of the economy, due to disruptions, due to the post-pandemic situations, your conflicts will be arising, and अभी तो बहुत ज़्यादा conflict हो रहा है, अभी देख रहे हैं. We need to understand. So these type of sessions are very, very important. Don't take it lightly. You please join such sessions because you need to understand the case studies is happening globally. Real time case studies भी बताया जाएगा. और मैं तो ये बोलूँगा कि ये सब टॉपिक को बहुत छोटा टॉपिक ना समझे, कि यही टॉपिक जो है कंपनी को बना सकता है, गिरा सकता है.
Thank you so much, Phukan sir, for your time which you have spent with us, and we really appreciate. We will see you soon with the second phase of same title. We will try to conduct the same session in same month. And if any attendee have any question related to today's title or the coming webinar, we are available on the live chat on our website, or you could write an email to support@webinarstores.net.
Yes. So thank you all participants. Thank you to Webinar Store. Thank you once again to Mr. Kunal for organizing such type of sessions are very much required now. So we expect that more and more participants will be joining on the paid webinars in the next month, and where we'll be discussing in details. And obviously, those who will join will not lose anything. They will gain more. They will gain more, not only for the insights, but also from the information which we'll be passing on to all of you. Thank you very much for participation. Thank you very much. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, everyone.